What's good, everyone? This is Monaro and welcome to my channel. Today we're going to cover chapters 14 to 21. Hope you enjoy. Drawing near Maidenpool, Podpane can't seem to remember if Brienne is a knight or a lady, frequently calling her "my lady, sir." Brienne has taken up his training, abandoned since Aaron Santagar was killed by the mob in King's Landing. They soon come upon a farmer, his wife, and their cart of eggs bound for Maidenpool. As they ride together, the farmer tells Brienne that the town has been mostly rebuilt thanks to the hard hand of Randyll Tarly. The Maid of Tarth hopes she can slip through the town without encountering the Lord of Hornhill, as she owes him a debt but bears no liking for the man. At the gates of Maidenpool, the captain informs the farmer that he will take his eggs and wife, forcing Brienne to draw her sword. Outnumbered by the gate guards, she is spared fighting by the appearance of Hal Hunt, a knight highly placed in Lord Tarly's army and a man whom Brienne despises. Hunt begins to mock her, and Brienne warns him that she will sort him out in a melee someday, just as she did Red Ronnet Connington during the melee at Ashford. She asks him for the location of the Stinking Goose, but Sir Hyle takes her to see Lord Randyll first. The commander of Mace Tyrell's vanguard is dispensing his harsh brand of justice when they come upon him. When she is brought before him, Lord Tarly asks her if she killed Renly, and then states he should ship her back to Tarth. But Brienne reveals the king's document that Jaime has given her, and she informs Tarly that she is seeking Sansa. He responds that Sansa is not in Maidenpool, nor would she be in the Vale, as Brienne has also assumed, since Lysa Arryn is dead. Brienne is shocked to learn that Sansa's aunt is dead. She heads off to the tavern, sending Sir Hyle off when he attempts to apologize for his actions at Highgarden. Later, awaiting the arrival of Nimble Dick at the Stinking Goose, she recalls the hurtful game Hyle and his friends played at her expense. Brienne had gone to Highgarden to answer Renly Baratheon's call to banners, expecting to be ridiculed, but unbelievably, many of the young knights she met, Big Ben Bushy, Edmund Ambrose, Hyle Hunt, Red Ronnet Connington, Hugh Beesbury, Richard Farrow, Owen Inchfield, and Mark Mullendore, were exceedingly kind to her, going above and beyond to the others to win her favor. Wary of their intentions, Brienne was still vulnerable thanks to hope, but she soon learned the truth. Randyll Tarly had called her before him to reveal what he had learned of their game through his son Dickon. The knights involved had a burgeoning wager on who would claim her maidenhead. Tarly ended their game, but told her the fault lay with herself, claiming her being here encouraged them and that a war host is no place for a maiden. When Dick Crabbe finally arrives, Brienne offers to buy him drinks. Nimble Dick soon launches into his story, egged on by a steady bribe from Brienne. He explains how he offered to help a frightened fool make it across the narrow sea. The fool claimed he had 2 girls with him, but couldn't chance the ports of Maidenpool. So Dick took his coin and took him and the girls along the shore to an old, now unused smuggler's cove up past Crackclaw's Point. Nimble Dick agrees to take her there for a large sum of coin, pointing out that he is from the area, and warns Brienne of the Whispers, a keep built by a mythical ancestor of his, Sir Clarence Crabbe. Sam is trying his best to keep both Gilly and himself calm during the tumultuous sea trip to Braavos. The Night's Watch ship Blackbird will take them only so far as Braavos, and then Sam will need to find tinder there bound for Old Town. Sam is hopeful that the others making the journey with him will find happiness when they reach their destination. Gilly and the babe at Hornhill, Maester Aemon back at the Citadel, and Daron in his new role as a recruiter. The old Maester tells them the story of his sea trip to the Wall, how he traveled with Lord Commander Duncan the Tall as his honor guard, along with Brynden Rivers, Lord Bloodraven himself, who was sent by Egg to serve out the remainder of his life in the Watch. As the trip progresses, Sam finds that nothing he says can console Gilly, and that Maester Aemon's health deteriorates. Darian has nothing but scorn for the wildling girl, but Aemon tells Sam to look closely at the baby to find the source of Gilly's grief. When Sam realizes that the baby is actually Dalla and Mance Rayder's, not her own, he can't believe what Jon did. Maester Aemon states, "What threats the Lord Commander made, what promises, I can only guess." And while Sam understands that Jon did so to save the baby from Melisandre's fires, he remains shocked at what cost this will have for Gilly. An honor procession flanks Lord Tywin's casket as it heads west, led by many of the Lannister bannermen. Jaime falls in with his uncle Kevin, and they discuss the attack on Salt Pans. Jaime cautions his uncle not to try and take on Sandor Clegane or Beric Dondarrion, and that he would have made a good hand. Kevin rejects him coolly and lets Jaime know he knows about the relationship of the twins. As Jaime returns to King's Landing, he looks upon the encamped Lannister army, which will soon board the Redwyne's fleet to lay siege to Dragonstone. He finds his sister in her solar as Grand Maester Pycelle delivers the news that Sir Bronn has named Lawless bastard newborn Tyrion. Jaime realizes that his sister may try to have Bronn killed for this jape, and he recalls the look on her face the night of Tommen's wedding when the Tower of the Hand was aflame. This called to mind the madness of King Aerys and the way he would become aroused by fire. Jaime recalls Aerys' rape of his wife the evening he had Lord Chelstead burned alive. Jaime had the guard of the Queen's bedchamber when she was screaming for her husband to stop. When Jaime said they were sworn to protect her too, his partner that night, Sir Jonathan Darry, replied, "We are, but not from him." Jaime asks to speak with Cersei alone and asks why she keeps Lady Tyaina around all the time, knowing that she is a spy for Marjorie. Cersei responds that Tyaina is more her spy, considering that the Queen Regent can do more for the Merryweather family. Jaime cautions that she doesn't truly know the woman, but Cersei remarks that she may make Tyaina's husband the Hand. After Jaime asks her about the rumor that she plans to name Orain Waters her new Master of Ships, he recommends that she would be better off naming Paxter Redwyne, but Cersei will not put any Tyrell vassals on her small council. Cersei also defends her choice of Qyburn, a disgraced and twisted maester, to join the council. Cersei's growing paranoia and brutality are becoming more evident, and Jaime retorts, "You are seeing dwarfs in every shadow, and making foes of friends. Uncle Kevin is not your enemy. I am not your enemy." However, Cersei throws him out of her solar in fury. In the White Sword Tower, Jaime speaks with Loras Tyrell, asking him what he knows of a certain famous Kingsguard. Sir Loras is well versed, but when the Lord Commander mentions some lesser-known Kingsguard, the Knight of Flowers does not recognize their names. Jaime points out that all of them served well, perhaps even better than the famous knights. Loras remarks that the great Kingsguard's knights will always be remembered as heroes, but Jaime reminds him that the most infamous will also be remembered. And then there are those who are not easily classified, of which he offers an example, Christian Cole, the Kingmaker. After yet another group presents her with a dwarf's head that is not Tyrion's, Cersei walks together with Qyburn to meet the small council. The new Master of Whisperers indicates that he has prepared the skull in an ebony box for delivery to Prince Doran, but no mention is made that it belongs to Gregor Clegane. Pycelle is near apoplectic upon hearing that Qyburn has been raised to Lord and has replaced Varys on the council, and Cersei makes it clear how unfit she considers the old Grand Maester. Cersei has finalized her appointments, placing men she considers to be meek and loyal and giving them the titles used in the free cities, thinking that she will have no masters with her in the small council. She now has a council consisting of Orton Merryweather as Justiciar, Master of Laws, Orain Waters as Grand Admiral, Master of Ships, her Uncle Kevin's father-in-law, Sir Harris Swift, as her Hand. This last appointment she considers a shield against any threat that Sir Kevin may present. The council first discusses the unrest in Sunspear and Prince Doran's letter that he imprisoned the Sand Snakes. Cersei notes that they are sending Balon Swift to Dorne with Gregor Clegane's head, as has been promised, but she does not mention that Balon will have another task as well. We also learn that Tyrion's High Septon has died in his sleep, and the council brings up the continuing influx of sparrows into King's Landing, stirring up the populace with their preaching of doom and demon worship. But Cersei cares not, nor does she care who becomes High Septon, provided he pronounces an anathema upon the imp. The next topic is a letter by the Lords Declarant in the Vale of Arryn, but the Queen Regent decides not to intervene directly on Littlefinger's behalf, but only send a letter warning these lords that no harm must come to Lord Peter. When the subject of rebuilding the fleet comes up, Cersei is adamant against making any pact with the Ironborn, stating, "Their turn will come, once we have dealt with Stannis." Orain Waters will get his fleet of Drummonds, however, and Cersei will find the coin by deferring the crown's debt to the Faith of the Seven and to the Iron Bank of Bravos until the end of the war. Pycelle warns her against this route, cautioning that it would be foolish to make an enemy of the Iron Bank, but the decision is made regardless. The council also discusses the prudence of making someone pay for the Red Wedding so as to appease all the sparrows, and in the meantime offering whoever succeeds the sure-to-die-soon Lord Walder Frey a chance to rid himself of unwanted brothers, half-brothers, and nephews. On the topic of the North, the council indicates that Stannis may soon be confronted by Roose Bolton's army, once his bastard son hits Moat Cailin from the north, allowing the Lord of the Dreadfort passage through the neck. Cersei mentions that Wyman Manderly has taken Davos Seaworth captive, after the latter was sent by Stannis to treat with him. Lord Manderly seeks the favor of the Iron Throne, and the Queen will recommend that he can achieve that favor if he beheads Stannis' hand. When Sansa is mentioned, Cersei shocks the council into silence with a violent tirade about how she plans to deal with the girl once she is found. In the uneasy silence that follows, Cersei also remarks that Lord Bolton possesses Arya Stark and that her marriage to his bastard should appease the North, keeping to herself the fact that Arya Stark is really a steward's whelp provided by Littlefinger. Next, they debate the fact that the Night's Watch might be joining its might to Stannis, especially now that Jon Snow is their Lord Commander. The council decides to warn the Watch that the Crown will stop sending men to the Wall, but Qyburn suggests that they do send 100 men. Cersei picks up on this, with the idea that the men sent will really be assassins ordered to remove Eddard Stark's bastard. Back in her apartment, Cersei learns from Taena that Dorcas fancies Osney Candleblack, and also hints that she herself likes dangerous, scarred men. Cersei tries to learn the name of Taena's old flame, but the Myrish woman is evasive. When Osney arrives, Cersei butters him up with an offer to join the Kingsguard and a chance to bed her again, provided he accomplishes a couple of tasks. First, Cersei wants him to seduce and hopefully bed Queen Marjorie. This will enable Cersei to execute her lawfully. Second, she plans to send him to the Wall as punishment for his treason with Marjorie, but in reality, he will lead a group of men to assassinate Jon Snow. She assures him that the men would not be required to serve in the Watch after they complete their tasks, and promises him a lordship should he accomplish both missions. Later that night, Cersei asks Lady Taena to remark to Marjorie that she has a secret admirer, but not to let out Sir Osney's name unless the girl probes. Victarion has left the defense of Moat Cailin to Ralph Kenning and sailed the Iron Fleet to Old Wick for the Kingsmoot. When the fleet arrives at Naga's Cradle, Victarion has them blockade Euron's Silence. The first to greet him on shore is Aeron, and later that night the priest is at his side for the feast. Several captains pledge their voice to Victarion's claim, but Lord Blacktide seeks a king who will end the war, saying, "Balon was mad, Aeron madder, and Euron is maddest of them all." Soon the captain finds his niece, advising her not to lay forth a claim, because a woman has no place ruling the Ironborn. Asha stands by her claim and notes that the Damfarer may have underestimated the appeal of the king's mood, since the drum will present his claim and there is talk of Marin Volmark being present as heir of the throne to Tarl the Thrice Drowned, while it is apparent that Aeron's intent was to legitimize Victarion as Balon's successor. Their chat is interrupted by the arrival of Euron. Victarion notes Euron does not seem to have aged in almost 3 years that he has been gone. Aeron confronts Euron with the accusation that no godless man shall seat the Seastone chair, but Euron cows his brother into leaving the hall. Asha then accuses her uncle of the death of her father, but Euron denies he had anything to do with it. When a fight nearly breaks out between Asha and one of Euron's men, Victarion steps in and demands that Euron leave. After his departure, Victarion and his niece walked outside, and Asha asked why Euron was banished by her father, for he refused to ever speak of it. Victarion eventually tells her that Euron impregnated Victarion's wife. Victarion wanted to kill his brother, but Balon forbid it and sent Euron to exile. Later, Victarion killed his wife with his own hands. Asha offers to set aside her claim if Victarion will name her his hand and end the war. She feels that the Ironborn have overextended themselves and tells her uncle that she has reached an agreement with Lady Sybil Glover and that their people may keep Sea Dragon Point and the Stony Shore in return for the release of Deepwood Motte, Tormund Square, and Moat Cailin. Victarion is not receptive. Asha replies that she will then claim the throne. Aeron is waiting in the ocean, berating himself for running from Euron. He considers Naga's bones, where the Great King ruled for 1,000 years and warred against the Storm God. At dawn, Aeron has his drowned men sound the drums and war horns to announce the onset of the king's moot. The prophet wishes for Victarion to win the claim, and hopes Euron will make a mistake and declare early. But the first claimant is Gilbert Fairwind, who rules a small barrier island far to the west of the Iron Islands, where shapeshifters are said to live. Aeron sees madness in the Lord's eyes. He offers to lead the men to a bountiful land beyond the Sunset Sea. Few of the gathered captains shout his name. Next up is Eric Ironmaker, who once might have made a great king, but age and his immense weight make him an easy target for Asha to dismiss by asking him to stand up from his chair. The following claimant is another famous Ironborn, Lord Dustin Drum, who asked the gathering, "Where is it written that our king must be a kraken?" But the Drum's downfall is the cheap loot he offers to swing the vote for the captains. Victarion steps forth next and asks for Aeron's blessing. His speech is short and concise, and he offers to continue the rule his brother Balon set. His offerings are generous, and many captains give him their voice. But it is Asha who interrupts the shouts of "Victarion!" and declares that her claim is best as she is Balon's daughter. She tells the Ironborn that war is bleeding their people and to continue it would be folly. She offers peace with the Northmen and prosperous land on the western shores of the north. When she opens her chest to show the scant spoils of her warring in the Northlands, the tumult of support she receives is staggering. Fearing that a woman will win the king's moot, Aeron is shocked back to reality by the horrible bellowing of a horn. All eyes turn to a giant war horn bound with ancient Valyrian glyphs being sounded by one of Euron's mongrels. After sounding the horn several times, the giant mute nearly falls over, his lips bloody and blistering. Euron steps forward and announces that he has sailed further and braved more than any other Iron Man. He offers not only peace and land, but all of Westeros itself to the Ironborn. When Asha asks him how he means to do so, her uncle responds that he will use dragons to conquer the 7 kingdoms as Aegon did, using the dragon horn he found amongst the ashes of old Valyria. When he tells the crowd that the horn can bind dragons to his will, and that he knows where 3 dragons can be found, he receives the overwhelming cheers of "Euron! Euron! Crow's Eye! Euron King! On the way to the cove where Nimble Dick led the fool and his two companions, Pod catches Dick looking through Brienne's saddlebags. She knew something like this might happen and warned Pod to keep an eye on him. But having no recourse but to follow Dick, Brienne and Pod continue on their path to Cracklaw Point. Dick tells them some of the history of the region to pass the monotony of their journey. Brienne's mistrust of Dick has made him take notice, and she considers how easy it is for her to suspect others after the mistreatment she has suffered in her life. She remembers getting her revenge on several of her false suitors during the melee at Bitterbridge, but this has done little to stay her natural distrust. As they pass the Dire Den, Lord Brune's castle, Pod takes note of a rider a couple miles behind them. When Brienne learns that Dick may have known Lord Brune, she considers the possibility that Dick is a dissenter from the war. After passing through many a treacherous bog and forest, they finally arrive at the ruins of the Whispers. Brienne commands Pod to watch their horses as she and Dick investigate the ruins. When they find a recently put out cook fire, Brienne realizes their quarry is still around. The trap is soon sprung, and the fool turns out to be Shagwell of the Bloody Mummers. Shagwell kills Nimble Dick with his brutal Morning Star, then informs Brienne that Urswick rode south to Old Town with some of the mummers, while Rorge headed for Salt Pans. He also reveals a rumor that the daughter of Lord Stark has last been seen with Sandor Clegane. When Shagwell's two companions attack, Brienne's strength and size are too much for Pig and Timian, who fall quickly to her strokes with Oathkeeper. Squaring off against Shagwell, the fool is struck in the head by a stone thrown by Podrick. Brienne forces the fool to dig a grave for Dick, but upon completion of it, the former brave companion attacks her. She quickly dispatches him as well, and then she is surprised to hear a laugh from the ruined wall. It is Sir Hyle Hunt, the rider who Pod had spied, sent by Randall Tarley to stay at Brienne's side in the off chance that she finds Sansa. At a hidden well at Shandy Stone, in the desert of Dorne, Arianne and her most trusted companions are awaiting the arrival of Myrcella and her sworn sword. Although Arianne has the utmost trust in Garin, Dre, and Silva, she is still unsure about Gerald Dane, the Dark Star. She considers his cruel nature and the mystery surrounding him. She is worried that Aerys may be wary of him. But if this would happen, and they were to come to blows, who would win? Garin warns Arianne that he does not like the man, but she reminds him that they may need his sword and eventually his castle. Later, Darkstar tells her that this scheme to crown Myrcella will not work as she has planned. He then unsheathes his sword and reveals that you incite a war with steel, meaning they should kill Myrcella. When Aerys and Princess Myrcella arrive, Arianne introduces the girl to her companions. Myrcella recalls the great knight Arthur Dane when she meets Darkstar, which seems to upset the Knight of High Hermitage, because in his mind people always remember his cousin for his famous sword. Aerys draws Arianne off alone and reveals that Tywin Lannister is dead. They set off at night for the Greenblood, where they will take an orphan's barge west along the river. Myrcella is confused, having been told nothing by Aerys, especially the fact that everyone keeps calling her Your Grace. Arianne tells her some of their plan, that they intend to crown her queen because her brother Tommen was being controlled by evil counselors. During the trip, Myrcella asks Garin why they call him an orphan of the Greenblood, when he has a mother and a father. He explains that it is a metaphor for their mourning the loss of their homeland, and the mother, River the Royne. They built barges along the Greenblood and hammered them together as they did in their ancestral land, for they were never comfortable in the deserts of Dorne. As Arianne is considering her plan to crown Myrcella at Hellholt, where Ilaria Sand's father Harmon Uller rules, they reach the river and spot the barge that Garin's people promised would be waiting. But as they get closer, Ario Hota steps from the cabin with a dozen crossbowmen. Arianne yells for them to flee, while Dre recommends they yield. But Eris Oakheart charges the boat, intent on protecting his two princesses at all costs. Hit with several bolts, he reaches the deck but falls to Captain Hota's long axe. As Arianne falls off her horse screaming, "No!" she hears Myrcella shrieking and Hota commanding horsemen to chase after Darkstar, who fled. Arianne notices Myrcella on her hands and knees, her head in her hands and blood streaming down her arms. Then she is brought before Hota, pleading to know how her father discovered what she planned. The captain of the guards responds, "Someone told. Someone always tells." Well, that's it, everyone. Thank you for stopping by and watching my video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to come back for more. Again, thank you for watching. Bye.